Founding Fathers. Today we're going to cover Thomas Jefferson, the Louisiana Purchase, and the Founding Fathers. All that really means here is they're going to go through a list of the original 13 colonies and who founded them. So that should be kind of cool. What do I want to tell you today about this? Well, we're going to be at the end of our journey of this book, and hopefully you've had a really good walk through our early American history. And of course, there are lots of other stories and ideas you can go and research and look at to give you an even fuller picture. Thomas Jefferson, the third president. Thomas Jefferson's skill with words was unrivaled, which led to him being chosen to draft the Declaration of Independence. He was leader of the Republican Party, and in 1801 he became America's third president. Early life. Jefferson was born in 1743 in Shadwell, Virginia. A gifted student, he would spend 15 hours a day studying his books and 3 hours a day practicing the violin. He became a lawyer, and that meant he had to speak in public, something he didn't enjoy. He came across as shy and nervous, which could have been seen as weakness. Instead, his formidable legal skills shone through. Draftsman of the Declaration of Independence. In 1768, Jefferson was elected to a group of leading officials called the Virginia House of Burgess. 6 years later, he wrote a pamphlet calling for America's independence from Great Britain. He became noticed, and the following year, 1775, he was made a delegate for Virginia at the Second Continental Congress. Jefferson said very little during the debates. His shyness got the better of him. Instead, his role was to listen to what was said, then write what had been agreed, clearly and correctly. In 1776, Jefferson was given the task of drafting the Declaration of Independence. He put into words what many Americans already believed, that America was right to break away from Britain. A summary view of rights of British America was written by Thomas Jefferson in 1774. In it, Jefferson said that America should be independent from Britain. And there he is, and I'm going to read this caption in just a second. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. Thomas Jefferson describing the importance of education. And since I'm an educator, I'm going to say that again. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. Thomas Jefferson describing the importance of education. So, in his opinion, everybody should have an education, which is probably why America has a free public education system. Because if everyone is informed, then they can make good decisions and they can be responsible voting members of the United States. Party leader. Toward the end of President George Washington's first term in office, two political parties emerged. They had opposing ideas about how the national government should run the country. Jefferson was leader of the Democratic Republican Party, or Republicans. Its members believed the government should have limited power and should not control ordinary Americans too much. President Jefferson. Jefferson served as vice president under President John Adams. When the two became rivals in the election of 1800, Jefferson emerged as the winner. He was America's first Republican president and was well liked by the people. Among his many achievements, he cut taxes and saved money by reducing the size of the Army and Navy. In 1803, Jefferson doubled the size of the U.S. when he purchased the Louisiana Territory from France. Final years. Jefferson left office in 1809 and retired to his family home of Monticello, Virginia. He wrote thousands of letters, important visitors came to see him, and he began establishing the University of Virginia. He died in 1826. Jefferson's home at Monticello, Virginia. So here's his home. It's hard to get the glare off of here. There we go. And I'm going to read this here. Cartoon showing President Jefferson addressing a group of American merchants who are unhappy at what he is saying. The president is defending his embargo on trading with Britain. Second term difficulties. In 1804, Jefferson was re-elected to serve for a second time as president. This was the time of the Napoleonic Wars, mainly fought between Great Britain and France. Jefferson tried to avoid taking sides and keep America out of the conflicts. He thought it was a good idea to embargo, or stop, British and French goods from entering the United States, but his plan backfired, American trade suffered, and he became an unpopular president. We have had trade problems lately as well, as we try to stop trade or increase trade. So we can see the echoes of history in our current lives. The Louisiana Purchase. Since its break from Great Britain in 1776, the U.S. had grown slowly. By 1803, there were 16 unrivaled states in the Union, located on the eastern side of North America. That year, the young nation increased in size when President Thomas Jefferson bought a vast area of land. Let's see. The object of your mission is to explore the Missouri River and communicate with the waters of the Pacific Ocean for the purposes of commerce. Thomas Jefferson's instruction to Lewis and Clark. Port of New Orleans. When Jefferson became president in 1801, one of his top priorities was to purchase the port of New Orleans. At that time, New Orleans belonged to France, but Jefferson wanted it for the U.S. It lay in a prime location at the mouth of the Mississippi River on the Gulf of Mexico. If Jefferson could buy New Orleans from the French, it would mean good business for American farmers and merchants who would be able to use the port to ship goods in and out of the country without having to pay tax. New Orleans as the city appeared in 1851. So here's our city. And then let's see, an early plan of New Orleans circa 1815. And then there's like an early map. And so we hear about Lewis and Clark here, and we hear about commerce and trade. And at that time, as today also, but the first highways, if you will, of the United States was actually the ocean. That's how we got things from one place to the other, and waterways. So these were important places for us to have access to as a growing country. Let's see. The U.S. offered France $2 million for New Orleans. France rejected the offer. It was not enough. In 1803, the U.S. increased its offer to $10 million. This time, France accepted. However, France said that for an additional $5 million, the U.S. could also have Louisiana. This was the name France had given to the vast land it controlled from the Mississippi River in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, and from the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the Canadian border in the north. It was named Louisiana for the French King Louis the 14th. For $15 million, Jefferson's Louisiana Purchase amounted to 828,000 square miles, or 2.15 million kilometers square of land. This worked out as about 3 cents an acre, an incredible bargain. The territory of the Louisiana Purchase is in green on this map. And you can see that that would have enlarged the United States quite a bit. Whoop. New states created. In time, the new territory was divided into the states of Louisiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Minnesota, Oklahoma. The Louisiana Purchase, as it was known, doubled the size of the United States and set the scene for the nation's westward expansion. Mapping the nation. Jefferson was curious to find out what lay to the west of the nation. Shortly after the Louisiana Purchase, he set Meriwether Lewis and William Clark the task of finding out. For 2 years, from 1804 to 1806, Lewis and Clark led an expedition westward as far as the Pacific coast. Charting the vast unknown region, the Lewis and Clark expedition covered about 8,000 miles, nearly 13,000 kilometers, and discovered 178 new plants and 122 species of animals. It was a remarkable achievement. The expedition mapped the nation for the first time, filling in the western side of the map as far as the Pacific Ocean. Legacy of the Founding Fathers. Throughout the 1800s, settlers moved west. They came from the existing states in the east of the country and from overseas, particularly from countries in Central Europe and Scandinavia. New states were created, and by 1900, the U.S. was a nation of 45 states with a population of 76 million. In a little over 125 years, the nation had grown from a small group of colonies into an independent country with a strong government and a written constitution. It was what the country's founders had worked hard to achieve for the benefit of future generations. So here's Meriwether Lewis and Williams Clark, and the route taken by Lewis and Clark's expedition westward across the U.S. is in red, and you can kind of see it going right along there. I'll just bring it up close and you can see it. I would say Google it. That might give you a better view than just me showing you the book. But it makes you curious, right? The Founding Fathers. 12 of the 13 original states sent delegates to the Constitutional Convention held in Philadelphia in 1787. Only Rhode Island stayed away. Of the 55 delegates, 39 signed the historic Constitution document, 13 left the meeting early and did not sign, and 3 refused to sign. So, the New Hampshire's founding father was Nicholas Gilman. Connecticut's founding father was Oliver Ellsworth. Massachusetts' founding father was Elbridge Gerry. Delaware's founding father was Richard Bassett. Georgia's founding father was Abraham Baldwin. Maryland's founding father was Daniel Carroll. New Jersey's founding father was David Beerley. New York's founding father was Alexander Hamilton. North Carolina's founding father was William Blount. South Carolina's founding father was Pierce Butler. Pennsylvania's founding father was George Clymer. Virginia's founding father was John Blair. And then there's a beautiful glossary in this book if you ever want to purchase it or check it out of a library. And there you have it, the Founding Fathers. And again, I think it gives you a lot of food for thought and a lot of opportunities to research other things. I hope you continued by bulleting these and putting down some interesting facts for yourself. I know that things get foggy in my head for the details, so that's one way to help us as we hear things over and over again, really remember and solidify our understanding. All right, well, I'll find another history book for you soon. Take care.